Welcome to Season 2 of Tibalt's Apprentice.
Yeah.
We're starting off with a returning guest. You probably already know Enrique as being one of the core four that I would play with so often. Our core four is a little shattered since we don't get together on the weekends like we used to.
Right.
But we're back to talk about, I don't know, have you talked about Saheeli before?
I haven't.
You have not. Okay.
And, my gosh, do I have a lot to say.
Fair enough. All right, so Saheeli is the commander, and I'm assuming you're not playing the pre-con out of the box anymore.
No, not anymore. That's long gone. That's
right.
been long gone.
Okay. So you took it a very different route.
Yes.
Well, tell us what that route is first.
Okay, so I used to have a Mizzix deck.
Right.
And Mizzix, as you know, is all about experience counters and, snowballing into bigger and bigger spells.
Sure.
And so, while I enjoyed playing that deck, and I played it as a extra turns deck,
Right.
just to make those spells cheaper and try to link those spells together,
Right.
I felt unfulfilled because there was always a cap as far as how
So that's a
how
great
high those
point.
costs can go.
That there is a point. The highest cap you're going to get is the amount of, well, you've got X spells in there, but yeah, generally your cap is, or your ceiling is going to be the highest mana cost in the deck.
Right.
So beyond that, you found a loophole or found another way to address that.
Yes. So
Fair enough.
eventually I thought, you know who doesn't have a cap? Saheeli the Gifted.
All right, fair enough. So, what are the synergies? What are the 10 cards you think that makes this deck work for you?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, it's Saheeli the Gifted.
Sure.
As commander. She is the cornerstone of the deck. Without her, the deck can still run, but it doesn't run as well.
Okay.
Just the fact that I can +1 her to either make a servo, which helps the synergy of creating more artifacts and just getting into exponentially bigger spells, or just +1ing her and then making my next spell cheaper by the amount of artifacts that I control.
Okay.
And so, yeah, by doing that, it totally solved the whole issue that I had with Mizzix, was this whole cap of your experience count as well.
Right.
If I have multiple ways of bringing out artifacts and bringing out multiple artifacts at the same time, then it kind of addresses that.
Gotcha. All right. So, what do you have laid out here? Is this like the perfect hand, or is this just cards that make it work?
Just like cards that make it work and make it work ugly. For my opponent.
Okay, so fair enough. So here's another question that I'm going to throw at you just out of the middle of nowhere. What subjects, because I have a feeling where this is going, are there any things in Commander you think of as being off the table?
Off the table? Yeah, as far as group happiness, like land destruction, I try to steer away from.
Okay.
Because it's pretty miserable just to be mana screwed and not have any chance of getting any progression.
Right.
So yeah, land destruction feels bad when you're the recipient of it.
Okay, fair enough. The reason I bring this up is because we're edging to that territory of feel bad, which is you don't get to play the game anymore.
Right.
So fair enough, though. That's not a judgment call we're here to make. Just want to know what your opinion on that was. Let's see what makes this deck work.
Yeah, it's pretty feel bad, but but just for an explosive start, I would say Jeweled Lotus, of course. Just
right.
If you could get Saheeli out on turn 1, she ramps she's ramped basically.
Right.
So just being able to get her out on turn 1, especially if you have an artifact land like Seat of the Synod, then you have a free artifact out on turn 1.
Sure.
With Jeweled Lotus, bringing her out, then making a servo. That means you're already 2 artifacts out.
Right.
By turn 2.
Right.
And so you can start creating really deep discounts for your future spells.
Fair enough.
Another big synergy that I wanted to put into this deck were creatures or artifacts that made multiple artifacts. a big one is Mere Battlesphere.
Sure.
So when Mere Battlesphere comes into play, you create 4 1/1 Mere artifact creatures, tokens.
Nice.
And so just for that one spell, especially if you have a huge discount from Saheeli,
Right.
like I could cast this spell for free sometimes, and just have 5 artifacts just
On the board.
just hit the table.
Gotcha.
And so now I have like an even bigger discount for my next spell.
Nice.
And so I'm trying to create a bunch of artifacts, a bunch of artifact tokens, and eventually get to like my win cons. So my win cons are stuff like Comet Storm.
Oh. Okay.
Things with particularly Comet Storm because it has multi-kicker.
Right.
And so if I want to, fireball a bunch of people in the face for like 20, I could do that.
Easily.
Or
Sure.
stuff like that.
All right. Fair enough.
And I've mentioned one of my pet cards before. A huge pet card that I have is Sunbird's Invocation.
Right.
So,
So you found yet another home for that card.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like,
Fair enough.
I can't think of a deck where I play red where I don't play Sunbird's Invocation.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next few cards, this is what like kind of ends up breaking the deck, I think,
Okay.
in a way, is cards like Jin Gataxias,
Right.
Progress Tyrant,
Okay.
and also Lithiform Engine.
Right.
So Jin Gataxias creates a copy of artifacts, instants, and sorcery spells that you copy, but only
Right.
once a turn.
Right. Only once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
only once a turn. So if I'm casting, say for example, the Mere Battlesphere,
Right.
if that's my first spell for the turn, I get 2 Mere Battlespheres, and then I end up getting like 10 artifacts instead of 5,
Nice.
which sets me up for future turns.
Sure.
Or I can use it for cards such as Expropriate. Like, Expropriate with either Jin Cataxias out or
Right.
Lithiform Engine, basically copying the spell, giving myself multiple turns.
Right.
And so forth.
Yeah.
And so, Expropriate isn't the only extra turn spell that I have, of course. but
No, it
it's
certainly
probably
isn't.
the most, like, salty of them all.
So with that said, any other ones in there? Oh, I think I see another one underneath there.
Yeah, so with these extra turns I get, especially with like Expropriate, if I'm getting like 2-3 extra turns in a row.
Right.
Another thing that I was missing in the Niv Mizzix deck were like good finishers.
Right.
Because you can't get discounts for like creatures or anything like that with
Right.
Niv Mizzix. It's only instants and sorceries.
Right.
So, another thing that I really wanted my Saheeli Ride deck, or Saheeli the Gifted deck to have is just flashy finishers, basically. And it gets pretty flashy with the Hellkite Igniter,
Right.
which is a 5/5 dragon with flying and haste. And its activated ability is a 1 red and 1 generic to give Hellkite Igniter plus X plus 0, which is equal to the amount of artifacts that you
Artifact
control.
control. Yeah, which is just gross at this point.
Yeah. So
So
if I'm taking like 2-3 extra turns,
Right.
I could just go around the board
It
just slamming people's faces, basically.
Well, so this gets into the point which I do appreciate. There's a reason why I said earlier there's no judgments on the decks because as far as I'm concerned, I've heard other people talk about combos. They don't like to see infinite combos in decks. They have these restrictions they put on it. No land destruction, which I love land destruction. Anyhow, the thing is, if you finish the game with it or within a turn or whatever, I agree with that. I don't like the idea of playing land destruction if the game goes on for another hour after that.
Right.
With any of these combos, with infinite combos, with things like this, I like the idea that you can finish the game out. That we played this a couple of times just to do a little bit of play testing. it definitely got to the point where you were able to demonstrate to me that I wasn't really going to get to play from that point or whatever, which was okay. What do? You shuffle up and you play again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's my feeling on it. Like I said, other people sometimes get salty when they see somebody go into an infinite combo and so on. As long as you're into the game. Again, this is just my opinion and stuff. So if you have a different opinion, feel free to leave it in the comments below. I would say, no need to be too salty about it. This is a game where people play based on their opinions and how they choose to play it. I'm not here to say anybody shouldn't play anything or whatever. I think there's room for everybody in every play style. So
Yeah.
I think that's it. So on that note, I'm going to say thanks for watching. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. I do have one special request, and that is if you do subscribe, please just type I subscribed in the comments. YouTube doesn't always let me know, and moving forward with season 2 here, I'm looking forward to doing some giveaways and some things like that, and so I want to know who the early people are that have joined our Tibalt's Apprentice club here, whatever you want to call it here. So at any rate, thanks for watching.